And he was also an author. You know him because he has been on the show several times as an author. Little did I know his real life was rescuing children from some of the most horrific things I've ever seen. He started the Underground Railroad, Operation Underground Railroad, ourrescue.org. We've asked you in the past if you would help get this off the ground, and you came through with flying colors. Tonight, you're going to see the results of what you did, just the beginning of what you did and how many children have been rescued. But also, Tim is trying to get churches to come together. I mean, the real goal here, as you explained this to me, Tim, is to be able to have this logo of Operation Underground Railroad on safe houses and churches. So if you're a kid that is running into this problem, you know you're going to be protected, you're going to be okay in that church. And so you're going around and you're speaking at churches, and you just did at my church on Sunday. Pat was there with his kids, but you scared the crap out of my little one. So the email that went out said, definitely not anybody under, I think it was 12 or 13. And so my kids were too young to go, but Pat's kids will never, ever use Facebook or...
I think they lit fire to most of the computers in our home, in fact. And,
so tell us what you know as an agent and what happens in the sex trade world.
You know, it's in the church talks I talk about the fact this is a spiritual battle, really, for the souls of our children. These traffickers, first of all, they're everywhere. Tonight I'm going to show you some software. I'm going to give you a demonstration. You'll see how many child rape videos are distributed every second in the world, and we can do it by observing certain networks.
And Tim, a lot of people are going to disagree with this, but I agree with it wholeheartedly. What is the absolute root of this problem?
The root is, it's an unpopular answer, but it's pornography. Mm-hmm. This is, when I say a fight for the souls of our children, not just our children as victims of potential traffickers, potential kidnappers, that's a real threat, but the threat that our children will grow into become these monsters. Every person that I've arrested and I've interrogated, it started, and they'll admit, it started when they were 13 years old and they picked up a Playboy. And that pornography became a drug to them. And
it really does. Pornography hardwires your brain in exactly the same way as hardcore drugs do.
Well,
Crack
it releases a drug into your brain, right? What is it?
It releases dopamine.
Dopamine,
and endorphins and several things. It's a chemical reaction in the brain that is very similar to the chemical reaction we see in cocaine use, heroin use. Mm-hmm. And so it's that chemical reaction that...
It acts almost like an opiate.
Right, and exactly. You can't, and just like drugs, you can never get high enough. You can never, that next high has to be higher.
Exactly.
And so that shoves you into stuff that's more and more perverse every time.
Right. It's the adult pornography is like the marijuana, we'll say, and after a while, the chemical reaction's not happening. It's not working. So they have to go to something stronger, heroin. In this case, child pornography. Soon they find themselves in a hotel room in Latin America doing a deal with me and ending up in jail. So this is, when I talk about the fight for the souls of our children, it's pornography and all the dirty things on the internet can turn them into monsters, if not victims, or maybe both. And I truly believe that the adversary is dialed in, and his number one tool is pornography.
Talk to me a little bit about social networking.
I'm not against social media. I think it's a great tool. I think
it is. I don't think anybody. I mean, this is where things always go haywire. If you start talking out about these things, people start to think that you're anti-technology or the internet. Just like everything, the internet is the greatest blessing and the biggest curse. Exactly. Social networking is hugely responsible for what good will come in the future. But it is also, just depending on how we use it, also responsible for some of the greatest evil.
And it's how these predators get to your kids.
That's exactly right. And so what we teach as a team is learn the rules, learn the dangers, use the internet for the good, for the good reasons. The reasons is there they can help. But beware of the evils, because they are everywhere on
Give me some examples that maybe people don't. I mean.
Okay. Anywhere you have I talk to parents and they say, but my little Johnny's Facebook page is beautiful. Look at it. It's wonderful. It's great. It's got wonderful
Flowers?
pictures and whatever. It's wonderful.
Mountainscapes
He's
on it.
a good kid. He's a good kid. And I explained, well, look, that might be true, but that Facebook page or that Twitter account is also a doorway into the darkest hell that exists in this world, 2 clicks away from it. And so that's the thing that parents need to understand. See, they didn't have Facebook as children. They didn't have Twitter as children. And so they don't see the dangers a lot of times in their own kids. And I'm not
what you're saying is that that's a calling card.
Exactly. It's the portal. It's the portal into things that are so dark and so horrific that parents can't even comprehend it. If Johnny goes there, of course, if he uses it for good and his parents decide that's okay, that's fine. But he must be aware of the darkness that exists there.
I have a 2-step plan to protect my kids against these sorts of horrible things, which is 1, show them the movie Taken, and 2, tell them their dad has no skills. He will not be there to rescue you. So you better be careful.
I've used that a lot of times. Watch Taken, because
Can I tell you something?
it's a real thing.
Tanya and I, we watched Taken, and we said, my kids came to us and they said, that summer that was out. And they said, we want to go to Europe. And I said, the hell you are. They still haven't seen Europe. It's like, nope. Mm-mm. But Dad, we're going to pay for it. The hell you are. I will call the Department of Homeland Security while you're in the screening area and say you have something in an orifice. Search for it. You're not going. Frightening stuff. Tim, thank you very much. By the way, how do people get a hold of you to come and speak?
Right on the website, the ourrescue.org. There's a contact link, and we'll respond.
And I want to also tonight we're going to talk about what happens to the rescued children and what happens to the criminals. But I also want to tell you that I look at charity as an investment in people, an investment in causes. And it's your responsibility to look and say, well, how are they using my dollars? And, we've all known, after 9/11, we all learned some great lessons of some very big name charities that are just wasting your money. And Mercury One, I think its overhead costs are 7%. And we raise that money during the summer to be able to pay for those overhead costs. So you don't have, so when I ask you for something, I'm never asking you for a single dime. Everything 100% goes to whatever it is. I will tell you that Tim and his team are so frugal that Mark will tell you that Tim and Mark, who works for me, who went down and volunteered his time to help you on a mission, he said the 2 of us slept in the same bed.
This is true.
Which is a little uncomfortable hearing, quite honestly. But why did you do that?
We always do that. Any of our missions, you'll find us all together. It's important to us to do this in a way that's lean, in a way that's frugal. This is sacred money to us. It truly is sacred to us that people would give this. And in fact, I've read the notes.
Some of the other guys were sleeping on the floor.
That's right. We have one of our guys brings a hammock with him and ties it up, our Navy SEAL, and that's where he sleeps. So, when these checks came in, and they came with notes and people saying, I felt prompted. The Spirit told me to do this. And this is sacred money to us, and we treat it as such.
Okay, if you want to donate or you want to find out more information, it is ourrescue.org. Our Rescue, Operation, U, Underground, R, Railroad, ourrescue.org. And you'll see some things that you don't normally see on television tonight at 5 o'clock. You don't want to miss it. Okay, thanks, Tim.